Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. So yeah, this video is gonna be a little different. This video is not gonna be about me making music or anything. It's about giving you guys a brief introduction about who I am, how I got my equipment, specifically how I got an MPC 2000 XL for free, and basically just some thoughts about the industry and about creativity in general, and why technology and consumerism or gas marketing is killing your creativity and your art. So first of all, my name is Freeplay. I'm a recording artist from New York City, Queens to be specific. I started taking music seriously, if you will, like in 2012. I was laid off from a job straight out of college. I went to Stony Brook University, got my bachelor's. And then after being in a cubicle job for like about 3 years, I decided to take music seriously, full time from that moment. I think I was about 25, 26 at the time. And I said, this is all I want to do. And I locked in. So basically, when I made that decision, I decided to go intern at a lot of recording studios in New York City, specifically Chunk King Studios. If you look that up, is one of the legendary hip hop studios of New York. That's where I had my first internship at. I will go on later to intern at Quad Studios, where infamously Tupac got shot and a lot of hits were made at both these facilities. And a lot of the engineers and ownership at these facilities were some of my first mentors in the beginning of my career. So basically, just a little background about what I do. I'm a recording artist, like I said. I'm also a producer and a recording engineer. I'm already certified platinum or gold, and I'm not saying that just to boast. I'm just saying that because I feel like now with YouTube, there's a lot of people that speak without authority. I'm not saying that I'm an authority in this game, but I'm a participant in the industry. I still currently work as a recording engineer and a mix engineer and a producer with major labels. So right here, I mean, again, and this is not to show off, this is my first plaque. RIAA certified. I see a lot of people posting fake plaques behind them on YouTube, but you can see the little logo here. And that was for my recording as an engineer, as a recording engineer with Little TJ. So that was with Little TJ like in 2016. Around that time, I think it was certified gold in 2018. And then later it became platinum, I think last year. I still haven't ordered the plaque because when you get a plaque, you got to pay for it yourself. And again, this is just like when you walk into a doctor's office, you look at the things on the wall, like, oh, what school he went to, that makes him valid and you trust him, right? So I felt like I just needed to do that just so that you guys could know that I'm not here to be an influencer. I'm not here to be a beat maker on YouTube. I'm not here to sell you anything. And I think the reason why I mainly started this channel was just because I wanted people to see what the industry is really like, what it's really like to be a up-and-coming or aspiring artist or producer in this game. I'll leave a link in the description of like my credits so you guys could see any of these songs that I've either written myself, I've helped other people write them, or I help other people mix and produce them. And again, some of these records have gone on to be awarded. There's a lot of stuff that I did last year that's in the pipeline that probably do numbers, you know. I don't really care about that. What I care about more is the people that are going to be watching my channel and even like my family in the future, if I have any kids, for them to see like what's the truth behind the industry. Because right now with YouTube, with influencers, with social media, there's a lot of people faking things and there's a lot of people telling, you know, the audience things that are not really true. Specifically when it comes to gear or even when it comes to like how the music industry works, you know? So this is gonna be a lot of like scattered ideas, but my hope is to get you guys the most genuine expression of what it is to be me in this industry, you know what I mean? So that's just a quick background about who I am, what I do, and why I'm here. Another quick story that I would like to tell you guys is how I got my AKAI MPC 2000 XL for free. So when I started, I was looking like how to make beats, you know, at that time. There was a lot of information on forums online. There was YouTube still was around, but you couldn't really find a lot of things there. So I used to be on forums. There was something called Gear. It's called Gear Space now. It's kind of a bad name, so I'm not gonna say it just in case this video gets like flagged or something. But I'll be on all those forums, like looking like, producers I looked up to, what they used, because that was basically the way that you try to do it. You saw somebody do something that already made it, and then you tried to emulate what they did and how they got there. So I looked up, obviously, Pharrell, Kanye, Timbaland. These are the producers that when I was in high school, they were like the hottest producers. Just Blaze, Primo, and The Alchemist, Havoc, Mobb Deep, coming from Queens, obviously Large Professor. So all of these producers I was looking at, like what they use, MPC, SP1200, and Sonic. So I was like getting a lot of information, and I was trying to find out like what was gonna work for me. So basically, when I started producing, it was between me getting a 2000 XL and me getting like a machine, a Native Instruments machine. So I go on eBay, I bought an MPC 2000 XL. It was the gray one, the one that I have now. Not this one, but one like that one. And I bought it, and I'm very excited about it. I forgot how much I paid at the time. But anyways, long story short, the screen was messed up. That was a common problem with these machines. The screen gets lines in it. You can't read it. So I'm like, damn, they sold me like a dupe on eBay. So I returned it. I went through the process. They took it back. And I was like, you know what? Let me get the machine. This is the newest technology. Let me get this. I saw like No ID at the time had done a video for them that he had produced Death of Auto-Tune for Jay-Z on it. I'm a big Jay-Z fan. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this new thing, No ID. He's like Kanye's mentor. He's also somebody that's obviously respected, and I do respect in the game. But I'm like, all right, let me get this. So I got it. I downloaded it. I had an iMac already. So I start using it, and it's, I start making beats. My beats are coming out pretty dope on this machine. But I'm still feeling like I'm tied to a computer. I don't feel like I'm locking in. I don't feel like a real producer, you know what I mean? And then after a short while, one of my knobs on the machine stopped working. And I don't know if I tried to go through the warranty or anything like that, because I believe I ordered it directly from the Native Instruments website. But anyway, it was just like a big hassle, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just make it work without this. And then little by little, like the piece started, like it just stopped working. I had the MK1. So after a while, I'm like, I stopped using that. I just went into Logic, and I gave up using a controller. I was just using like, a DAW to make music. And then I'm like, wow, man, like I really miss like the tactile, the drum pads. And every time I was making a beat on the computer, like I felt like my sound wasn't there. And I also just felt like when I looked at, videos of my heroes, or like, not hero, but like people that I look up to making beats, other producers, I'm like, they have this drum machine, they got an MPC in front of them. Like they look like real instruments and real producers. So I always felt like that was missing in my production. But I took some time off to intern, like I said, and I went and I learned about engineering and about how sound, how analog sound works, how tape works, all these things, because my journey has always been to try to get the best sound. In my music, I wanted it to be competitive. I take this seriously if I'm doing this full time. So I wanted to learn how the pros record and everything. And that's kind of what I'm sought after nowadays, right? Like people come to me for their vocal tracking and to mix their songs, because I was mentored by people that taught me like how to use compressors and preamps to get a sound without plugins. So, I don't know if it's in the frame, but I have a TubeTech CL1B compressor, and I have a BAE 1073 preamp, and that's part of my vocal chain. It took a lot. Obviously, if you look these things up, they're really expensive. It took, and again, I'm not here to show off. I saved up many years to buy these pieces, and I care about that. I haven't bought gear like in 5 years, and that's another thing, that I want to speak about, is like we're always being marketed to. So I remember seeing this. I didn't make up this term, but when something is free, you're the product, right? So a lot of these YouTube videos that you watch from other influencers, and I call them influencers because they don't really make songs. Like none of these people that I could see, the ones that got the most views, they don't have any credits. They don't put out any albums. They don't work with any of the people that probably inspired you. So why are we listening to them? They're selling you the newest thing. You look at anybody that got the crazy views. I'm not going to shout out no channels, but all you see is stems, the new MPC like this. And again, shout out to AKAI because they helped me during my creative process with these machines. But I found what worked for me, and I decided to lock in and really learn my instruments and say I'm not using anything else. Because the more I learn about these machines and about the technology that made the hits that I like, it's like they didn't have stems. They had to find a way to EQ out the vocals. They had to find a way to use some, a cappella machine. Jake One got a video about that, and remove it from the vinyl. So that's kind of like, I feel like technology is killing our creativity because of this, because of all these easy ways to chop up a loop and all of that. You're not listening to the music anymore. You're not taking your time, Do you think if like any artist from the old age was here, and this goes for painters or anything, you think they'd be using an iPad to draw a straight line better? We wouldn't have Basquiat, if he was drawing straight lines. So you need to really find, and I'm not saying go out and buy an old sampler. I'm telling you, like, you need to lock in on your process. You need to pick the tools that are gonna help you make the sound that you wanna make, and that might be guided by who you look up to. And then from there, you need to lock in, and I'm telling that to myself because that's what I'm doing now. I have Ableton, I have FL Studio, I have Pro Tools, I have all of these things. And I started selling a lot of stuff and just keeping the things that I feel like get me to where I want to go, or is going to get me to where I want to go. So like, it might be in the frame, it might not be, but I have a bunch of 45s that I'm just listening to. I have a notepad right there. I'm taking notes on like what records have what sounds, who are the producers, who are the writers on these records, because that's what's going to help me like understand the process of like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. I'm not just trying to make a quick hot beat with a loop pack, even though sometimes like you have to do that for YouTube because they copyright strike and then you can't make any revenue. They make all the revenue off of your videos. And that's why I don't want to make this channel really about just making a hot beat, because with these machines, it takes hours to chop up a loop. It could take you a whole day, and that shit could be whack, and you got to scrap it, I got this pack of floppies that I got from the person that sold me my ASR. And again, like I worked at Apple at the Fifth Avenue store for many years just to save up to buy that machine. And I found it on Craigslist. How I got my MPC 2000 for free. So years later, while I'm in the studio, I met my homie Backpack. He goes by Elmar now. He's a producer as well. He's from up, like by the BX around there. And one day I'm coming from the studio and I kept, I was talking to him, I think, during a session we had about how I love, the thing. He had a controller, like a MPD, a AKAI MPD. And I was like, yo, man, I loved my XL, but, fuck the machine. Like, that shit crapped out on me. Then, the thing about that is like, after a while, they weren't supporting the MK1 anymore. They wanted you to buy the MK2. And, I was like, man, this is just a software company. So I still got the native instruments, like the machine. I own the license for it. But I never got another controller for it because I'm like, fuck that, And I'm looking into hardware and how people like still repair these things, how you could still get them to work, even though I got a faulty one. So one day, man, I had talked to him like a month before that about an MPC. I come to the studio and there's an MPC 2000 XL sitting on the desk, on the producer desk. I was working at the penthouse of Quad at the time. And he goes, yo, Freed, like that's you right there. And I was like, what? I still get emotional like about that shit. I'm like, what? What you mean that's me? He's like, yeah, man, like I never seen somebody be so passionate about a fucking drum machine. Like my homie was throwing this out because he got a Renaissance. And this was in the rain. So my MPC was like in the rain for a little while. And Backpack is walking through his crib and he calls his boy and he's like, oh yeah, I got the MPC Renaissance. Like I'm throwing that shit out. Like I don't need it no more. So he was throwing out a fresh 2000 XL. It had the 8 outs already. And it had a few problems like when I got it. But yo, like Backpack just brought it for me and he gave me this for free. And I have been fiending. So I really believe too, like pieces come into your world when you're ready for them. Like I would read the manual for this. I didn't even own it. I would be on the forums. I knew how to like do things on it before I even got to do it because I was like reading and watching videos about it and stuff. And there was a bunch of stuff, but I learned so much electronics too. Like this weekend, my cousin, I don't know how to solder that well. He helped me solder 2 tact switches. Before that, I replaced the LCD window on it. I replaced the patch sensors on it. I'm gonna be changing the note variation slider on it. And my cousin's gonna help me solder. He's good with that. And a few of the outputs on the 8-out is scratchy. And my boy Rivers, shout out to Rivers, he changed out the floppy for a SD card reader. And yeah, man, like that's another thing. Like I learned electronics by like owning this, opening it, not being scared, because they were made like, old good equipment is made like old cards. You could go in there. There's still a lot of people making parts. Now I'm joining some Facebook groups. There's people like, there's a community around this, like of new engineers that are taking PCB boards and like making things for these machines so that you could still fix them. And I do believe that they're gonna be able to be serviced for a long time, even if you got to do it yourself. I don't got the bread to be sending this into like, a tech and pay for bench hours. So, I get in there. If I mess it up, then, it is what it is. But, I learned a lot of things by just opening up these machines and seeing how they work. And it made me appreciate them more. And like, I love my current setup. Obviously it's not like very affordable to get into it. But at the time, I'm not going to say what I paid. I paid a crazy low amount for my ASR. It came with the SCSI and with a bunch of floppies. I got them here. I'm going to be going through those sounds and check out, like, the guy that I bought it from was a film composer. So there's a bunch of sounds there that I just haven't gone through because I was locked in for a minute, working in FL because I wanted to be faster, working in Ableton because I wanted to chop faster. And I realized, man, like all those, and shout out to, obviously, like Nick Mira or Rio Leva, like anybody that makes fast beats, like, kudos to you guys. You guys make amazing music. But that's just not my style. Like I look at this as such a delicate thing. Like we're leaving things behind, like any piece of art is something that you're going to leave behind. And if you're making fast and cheap art, then it's like, how does that contribute? We got enough for that already. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm at now is like after I've done a few projects and I've been making beats and trying to get placements and chasing all these things, views, subscriber counts. I'm just like, let me just lock in, be myself. And that's why sometimes you'll see a video where I'm just chopping up a loop for mad long and it might not become anything, But I feel like that's more honest and real about what the process is like than to just how to make a dope beat in 10 minutes. Because there's no way, man, especially even in these samplers, like a lot of these people are chopping the loop up first in Ableton or Serato, throwing it into the sampler, doing some cool lighting, and, have an expensive mirrorless camera. I'm shooting this on my iPhone, but they have like these crazy Sony cameras and you get the views, obviously, and shout out to everybody that just started subscribing and putting positive things on my videos. Like, that's love. I'm going to keep trying to be as honest and genuine as I can. And sometimes I'll do a quick beat, whatever, put it up. But a lot of the times I just want to, like, let y'all know who I am, what this channel is going to be about, and how this industry is, Like, it's not easy, obviously, I do this full time. I mix records. I go to the studio when I get called in to record artists. I haven't sold beats in a minute, but I have produced projects where people have bought beats off of me. I play guitar, so I've been called in to play guitar on some records. I'm a musician, so I take this very seriously because this is how I eat, and this is like what I've been doing most of my adult life, So I want you guys to know like where I'm coming from as free play and what my channel's, supposed to be about. Hopefully this video answered that. I tried to just make it straight through without any edits so that you guys could, feel it. Like this is me just talking to y'all. If y'all were my homie or my cousin, my brother-in-law, or like my brother's brother-in-law, he started doing music. So I started like teaching him how to produce in FL. And, I've tried that too, like, but I don't think I want to make this channel about that, about my process of like how to make a beat, how to make a hi-hat roll, because that's already out there, I think more of like how I wake up and make a cup of coffee and I'm frustrated, or like how I just can't get something to loop in the ASR, or how I gotta change, the screen on this soon because it's starting to lose characters on the LCD. But guess what? Somebody just started making that. Like, so I'm gonna be able to install that. Whenever I get the bread, I'll buy it. I'll put it in there. I had to replace a key on this recently, so I got into the actual keyboard, and that machine is crazy. But again, like being an engineer, when I hear the sound, like even if I take a sample from a pack and I run it through here, is night and day. So that's kind of what I look for. I look for the sonics of my things to be at a pro level, and these are professional instruments when they were making them, AKAI Professional. Now is like they're trying to sell you easy fixes for things. And the sonic quality obviously is not there. There's a bunch of people talking about that recently. So I wanted to address that as well. But it just isn't. And at the same time, it's like these are now like prosumer brands. So they're going to come up with a new model. They want you to buy it, just like the iPhone I'm shooting this on. The next one's going to come out and it's going to have a feature that you're going to want. But you got to really lock in, you got to really like sometimes throw the technology away, not literally, but, like just lock in with, if you want to be a writer, just get a typewriter and lock into your room. Like take away the distractions, get a sampler. And guess what? If I'm chopping up something here, I can't go on YouTube. If I'm making a drum loop here, I can't just put a warp marker and then you move so fast onto the next thing. It's like, if you do a beat in 10 minutes, you probably gonna think it's too easy. If something's too easy, you're gonna think it's whack. It could be a dope beat, but maybe that's just me. Like you gotta cultivate patience, within this process if you want to be great. But if you're doing this just as a hobby, and you want to chop loops up in the park, you want to get the newest thing that allows you to do that, then so be it. I haven't bought a piece, like I said, in 5 years. I think the last thing I bought was the Fender Stratocaster. But I had a studio and I was buying a bunch of like analog gear and stuff like that. But I mean like, toys. I call some of these things toys because they look like toys, but they're real instruments, But there's a new sampler, there's a new thing that allows you to chop quick and, you can make a beat in the beach. Like, really? You're going to go to the beach with your shorty or with your friends and you're going to be there with headphones chopping up a drum loop. You should be enjoying life, getting experiences so that you could come back to the lab or to where your studio's at, even if that's your laptop, and really concentrate and lock in and make a record or make a dope beat or a beat tape, whatever it is that your goals are with this shit. But, a lot of times it's just like they're using influencers, obviously now. That's the new marketing scheme to sell you something that you're not even going to probably do. So now you got to learn this whole new sampler when you probably already had something in your crib, or somebody hand me down like some of these things that people get rid of when they get the new stuff. You could go on Craigslist. That's where I got my ASR. Shout out to Craigslist for dumb cheap. And now they got Facebook Marketplace. I be seeing ASRs, and not ASRs for cheap, but MPCs, 1,000, whatever, like old samplers, old 404s, not the new one. And even the new one for low, affordable price if you got a part-time job, whatever. You got to learn these machines, though. You got to read the manual, watch the YouTube videos, and lock in and really decide, like, okay, this is a hobby, but I'm going to get this nice at it, or I'm going to take my time. I'm going to sample from YouTube, but I'm going to take my time, or buy $100, $50 turntable and use records so you could get that sound. Because if you care about this, you're always going to be chasing that sound of, like, the hits that you liked, And the only way to do it is by using the same ingredients, You're not going to make, a certain dish if you don't use high quality ingredients or the right ingredients. That's why I try to limit myself to like things of that era of and I'm not trying to make music that's dated from that era or be like an old head, but I'm just trying to get to a certain sonic level with my music and what I do put out in the world, which I like to put out more like albums and intentional stories. That's why my vlog video, I guess that one's doing well because I like film too. So even if I'm doing it on an iPhone, I kind of want to tell a story with it, you know what I mean? And I want the music to also be that way. So that's why these pieces are important to my process. And I kind of want to show you guys the ins and outs of how I approach them, and how I lock in. But yeah, I don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. I don't know how long it is. But anyways, man, shout out to you guys that have been subscribing, that have been putting encouraging comments. Because I know there's going to be hate comments like in the future or whatever. I don't really care. But yeah, man, this is what this channel is for. It's your boy Free Play. Shout out to the community. Shout out to all of y'all. Keep creating, keep locking in, and get rid of, you know, that FOMO and that gas, gear acquisition syndrome, because you probably got everything you need right in front of you, you know? Peace.